I think I'm getting closer. You see, I've got it. My approach is not at all conforming, is it? I've trained myself to resist the conventional wisdom, and it's got to be validated in my mind. I've got to feel the consistency of it with my body of corpus of wisdom, if you like, my wisdom as I understand it. Before I take it on, I'm attempting to be strongly against gullibility. You know, the religion or the guru says this, and, you know, the professionals declaring so-and-so, and I swallow it hook, line and sinker. I'm anti-religious in this way. I'm non-conformist. Not personally to be difficult and to be obstructive. On the contrary, I suspect that it could well be that we've been going the wrong way for a long time on any particular issue, and it's not the current popular acceptance as such that I'm looking for. I'm looking for whether it accords with the corpus of the current state of my wisdom, of being, of personhood, albeit that, of course, very junior. I mean, I don't mean it's wonderfully matured, but I do find it more in my personal interest, my individualism, than the corpus of, say, what is popularly being sifted through and attended to, and might come up on some public media source, and with whatever biases may be built into such, intentionally or otherwise, you know. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for answers that may be very thinly out there, but I suspect much more closely to the values, the whole corpus of values that I am, in my understanding of it as a person. The whole thing is a concern to me then, AI, its practice, use, its dependence. It's a great concern to me as regards my individualism. You could say as regards my self, view of self, which I agree may be very suspect from some religious points of view. I mean, a Buddhist view would be very much that the self is an absolute fiction. We're simply the consequence and the focus of causes and conditions, which we are calling a person, but has no significance as regards a quest for avoiding suffering, which defines perhaps the Buddhist view of the goal of enlightenment. You know, my goal is not that, for instance. My goal is an enlightenment that is not preoccupied with current suffering, but rather with eternal happiness, if you like, joy, hope. Well, of course, the Buddhist has a hope too, but a hope that's more centered on fullness of life as I've experienced it, not what seems to amount to in Buddhism a negation of life in favor of simply some non-suffering state. which they take to be automatically a bliss, but I'm not sure about that at all, of course, not being enlightened in the way that they're valuing. Where was I? Well, I've just reviewed what I've recorded here in this very recording. Now, is it number 4 or 5? This one's numbered anyway. I'm not looking for what is. I'm seeking what needs to be newly incorporated into what I value as present. In other words, my creativeness is much more to the fore in my mind, not my conformity. I'm not simply seeking what is accepted as right, by the current culture or religion or neighbouring average view. I'm seeking more than that. Something that I really feel is acceptable to my present personhood and the way I wish to be going. In that sense, I'm frighteningly individualistic compared to a conformity that others might be much more at ease with. And therefore I have to keep my non-conformity under wraps. It's still a baby in the making, and I don't want it unduly influenced as from my point of view. In a sense, I'm very precious about what I think I'm becoming, not because I wish to stay rigidly in what I am, but what I wish to achieve at present, which is indeed something about what I am. But as an individual, I'm eternally a potential misfit in heaven, not just on earth. And because I'm a misfit in heaven at present, there's no way I have easy access to it, except in the limited way of being a child in the family. To have the freedom of adulthood in heaven is not so much that I have to be conforming to others. In fact, that would be, well, not truly appreciated, but rather I have to become a uniqueness of individuality that is in harmony with the host of heaven, which is an astonishing harmony of uniquenesses, of personhoods. God is, and all of us in heaven, are delighting in the individuality, the personality of each of its children, its members, its adults, grown-up children. In a way, it's in a strange sort of way. It's a dimension of many gods, but in, shall I say, a glorious harmony of creativity, where there is no rivalry. There is only a glorious acceptance and harmony with, if you like, all the wonderful saints that have come to be there. I mean, it's a state, my view of heaven, which is assumed to be beyond my view, and I can only in some sense refer to rather than describe, because I haven't mastered the understanding that copes with adulthood yet in a spiritual sense. I'm still a child. But I'm growing up. I'm getting a better view each day, or at least I feel I am. And sometimes I make steps forward which I've never dreamt of. But I do feel greatly worse steps forward. And sometimes I'm wrong. They have to be reviewed. You know, I've actually gone down a byroad that doesn't easily lead back to the main straight and narrow path, if you like, that I'm seeking. And by straight and narrow, I don't actually mean narrow at all. I mean an absolute escalation. I mean more than a motorway to the destination that I've entrusted, or found to be entrusted to. Well, I can only say, like my Heavenly Dad. I know this concept of Heavenly Dad is, in some sense, a facility that I'm using. But it's a facility I'm using in the absence of really grasping what I'm meant to be at, which is something divine beyond my comprehension. But I want with all my heart to trust that I'm moving towards. And that's what's steering me. And there's no search engine that I can easily use in AI that I want to put my faith in at all. In fact, quite simply, I do not want to put my faith and trust in AI. It's as simple as that. This sovereignty I have is devoted to my God. Wow. Didn't think I'd come to that. You could say, looking at me, well, it's inherent in the way you've been thinking for years. You're obviously moving towards that. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God, your God, with all your heart, soul, mind and strength. That's the way to go. I'm like the fool that's in love with love, aren't I? I'm devoted to devotion. And I'm a child. I'm not sure what the object of my devotion is, except that I value all the good things that Mum and Dad do in my life. And the more I appreciate such, the more I seem to be in harmony with them, and life is better. So the kiddie grows. All right, in a violent society, when he doesn't do this, he gets punished and hurt and injured. But he is not flourishing in such a situation. He's more sort of suffering from it. And that's how people seem to be living their life, as if they're suffering from the checks and balances that they run into, instead of being blessed by and rejoicing that, oh, that's the wrong way. What did I do that brought me this hardship? And to avoid it in future, but rather to achieve joy and peace and happiness and hope and blessing and life, vitality, creativity, expansion of self glorious way, rather than a way that keeps bringing hardship, setback, disaster, despair, death. Come with me. I take thee by the hand into a land full of joy and hope and happiness, your true place of heaven. Thank you, Heavenly